No decision yet on whether or not immunity will be granted to the Huntsville police officer indicted for murder. That's where we start this evening. I'm Connor Board.
And I'm Mike Black. Officer William Darby shot and killed 49-year-old Jeffrey Parker last April while responding to a suicidal call. Renata DiGregorio joins us live from where his hearing just wrapped up. Renata, what's the latest?
Mike, Connor, Darby is claiming self-defense and wants to be granted immunity from prosecution. Today, we also got a first look at the police body cam footage from that day. Darby told the judge he was concerned for another officer's safety when they were inside Parker's home. The prosecution says he rushed into the situation and was only on the scene for 11 seconds before he fired. The body cam footage shows Darby running into the home. There's yelling to drop a weapon, and Darby's gun is fired. Several other people, including the two senior officers who were there on the scene with Darby, testified. The city is spending up to $125,000 on his defense.
Jurors in the trial of Huntsville police officer William Darby are deliberating right now. Darby is on trial for murder after he shot and killed Jeffrey Parker back in 2018. Our Kelly Kennedy spent the day sitting in on the trial at the Madison County Courthouse and has the details.
After 3 days of testimony, attorneys gave their closing arguments today in the case of William Darby. The Huntsville police officer was indicted on murder charges in August 2018. 4 months after he shot and killed 49-year-old Jeffrey Parker. According to HPD, the shooting happened when officers were called to Parker's home in April 2018. When officers arrived, they say Parker had a gun to his head. Body camera footage shows Darby running into Parker's home. He's heard yelling at Parker multiple times to put the gun down. Put the gun down. Then a gunshot is heard seconds after Darby enters Parker's home. Darby is claiming self-defense. Today, defense attorney Robert Tootin said Parker was in imminent danger and Darby was using his training and following HPD policies. Officer Justin Beckles and Officer Ganesha Pagis were in Parker's home when Officer Darby arrived. Darby's defense says he was concerned for the other officer's safety and explained to the jury, quote, "When you don't know what they're going to do next, you've got to act." During closing arguments today, Assistant District Attorney Tim Douthit says there's not reasonable evidence Jeffrey Parker was going to hurt somebody and that Darby rushed into the situation. The prosecution noted that Darby had 18 months experience as an officer at the time of the shooting and that the other two officers on scene had a combined 10 years experience. Douthit explained there are no special rules for self-defense. He asked the jury to imagine if it had been a next-door neighbor that was called to Parker's home the day of the shooting. Putting the Valley first, Kelly Kennedy, WZDX News.
After hearing testimony from over a dozen witnesses this week, jurors found Huntsville police officer William Darby guilty for the murder of a suicidal man, Jeffrey Parker. Defense attorneys say Darby will appeal the guilty verdict. Our Kelly Kennedy spent the day at the Madison County Courthouse and has the latest.
It took the jury a little over 2 hours to make the decision that William Darby is guilty of murder. The Huntsville police officer is now looking at a minimum of 20 years in prison. After deliberations went on for over 4 hours yesterday, the jury had to start over this morning because one juror was injured and replaced with an alternate. However, it didn't take long for this new jury to come to a unanimous decision. After the guilty verdict was read, Darby was escorted out of the courtroom in handcuffs.
We're very pleased with the jury verdict. We believed in this case. I'm not saying this is a pleasant day for us in the office, but it's a day that justice dictated.
Darby is claiming self-defense and says he was protecting the other officers on scene who he believes put themselves in a dangerous position. Defense attorneys say Darby will appeal and they are certain the verdict will not stand.
Because the jury got it wrong, they made a mistake and they issued a verdict that we don't disagree with. And Ben Darby has constitutional rights to take it to a higher court and have it reviewed. and that's what he will do.
The Huntsville Police Department is taking Darby's side. Police Chief Mark McMurray stating, quote, "While we thank the jury for their service in this difficult case, I do not believe Officer Darby is a murderer." The city paid up to $125,000 for Darby's defense. After the verdict was read, Huntsville Mayor Tommy Battle stated, quote, "Officer Darby followed the appropriate safety protocols in his response on the scene. He was doing what he was trained to do in the line of duty." The family of Jeffrey Parker filed a civil suit over a year ago. Parker's childhood best friend says he believes HPD officer Janisha Pegues had everything under control.
I feel badly that he may be facing years of jail, but he made a decision. It was split second, and it was the wrong decision. He has to live up to that. It's just a life and death.
Parker's family and friends told me the verdict is giving them some closure, but they hope this case sparks change on how police respond to mental health calls. Putting the Valley first, Kelly Kennedy, WZDX News.
Huntsville police officer and convicted murderer William Darby is no longer on paid administrative leave with the department, but he is now on accrued leave with pay. You'll recall Darby was found guilty 2 weeks ago of killing a mentally unstable man during a police call in 2018. An investigation by the department found he had done nothing wrong, but a grand jury indicted him, and the trial jury found him guilty. He is appealing the verdict. To date, the city has paid $89,000 in legal fees for Darby. If you'd like to see more information on why he is still on the city payroll, just head over to our website, rocketcitynow.com.
Former police officer. First, the police officer in question is William Darby, found guilty of killing a suicidal suspect 3 years ago. Our Nixon Norman was in the courtroom for the sentencing.
Former Huntsville City policeman William Darby was sentenced to 25 years in prison for the murder of Jeffrey Parker in 2018. The former Huntsville police officer was led out of the courtroom in handcuffs after receiving his sentence. Darby was convicted in May of this year, and after the hearing, friends and family of Parker spoke outside of the courthouse.
Since this case has been going on, Darby and the city of Huntsville have not taken responsibility for what happened. That's something we want to address. He was still getting paid even after the verdict. Didn't get terminated. He resigned on his own.
I sincerely hope that the United States Attorney General is involved in these incidents in Huntsville and that the Department of Justice takes appropriate action. Obviously, our elected officials in this city have chosen not to do so.
Jeff was in a mental state. Jeff had issues. Jeff asked for help. You have to think, poor Jeff in that situation. He's asked for help. He has a gun to his head. He's got somebody there who is calmly working with him. Everything seems to be going well, and out of nowhere somebody comes yelling epithets at the police officers to try to change something.
This is a sad day for Huntsville, and I sincerely hope that this wonderful city that I grew up in most of my life takes appropriate action.
Darby's defense team plans to appeal, saying, quote, "When the appellate court reviews this, I think they're going to have a little bit of a different opinion than what the jury did." Putting the Valley first, Nixon Norman, WZDX News.
Just 1 week after former HPD officer William Darby was sentenced to 25 years for the murder of Jeff Parker, a judge grants the public release of Darby's body cam video. Our Kanisha Dees has more.
Earlier today, a judge allowed the public release of body cam video used in the Darby trial. However, soon after, the city of Huntsville filed an objection, and now we hear from Parker's family.
This is a big day for transparency and accountability that the video will be shown.
Justice beyond the jury's verdict and the judge's sentence for the Parker family.
Overwhelmingly, we are ecstatic that it's being released. We understand it's going to be graphic. Our client wanted this to be released, and overwhelmingly.
Family attorney Martin Weinberg also addresses the objection filed by the city of Huntsville.
The city in other cases, but in this particular case, they've been retained to represent Officer Darby in the civil case. That was unique to us, and our position was, well, Darby's criminal attorney said didn't have a problem with it. The civil attorney comes in and says, oh, we represent the city. So it's a little confusing, but I just want to make that point.
Weinberg believes the public release of body camera video may set precedents for the future.
I mean, this is not something that's necessarily been ruled on here before, but we've seen in other cases. So if they know this is what they're coming, maybe they'll take a different approach in terms of saying, hey, we want to be accountable. We want to show transparency. We want folks to know where their money is being. So we hope that's what will happen.
Putting the Valley first, Kenesha Dees, Fox 54. A former Huntsville police officer, William Darby, will be getting a new trial. The State Court of Criminal Appeals has reversed his murder conviction. Darby's team has filed numerous appeals to overturn his May 2021 conviction for the shooting death of Jeffrey Parker back in 2018. The deadly officer-involved shooting was recorded by police body cameras. Now, last November, the appeals court judges heard arguments on two questions. Did the circuit court's disabling a video in the spectator room during trial deny Darby of his Sixth Amendment right to a public trial? And did the court improperly refuse Darby's request for instructions on the, quote, law applicable to a jury's consideration of an officer-involved shooting in the context of a self-defense claim? Well, this morning, the court released this statement regarding its decision to overturn Darby's murder conviction. Quote, we conclude that the trial court's refusal to give one of the requested instructions was reversible error, and we remand the case for a new trial on that basis. In cases where there is evidence to support a defendant police officer's claim that he used deadly force in self-defense, the trial court should instruct the jury to evaluate the defendant's actions from the perspective of a reasonable police officer in the same situation, end quote. The city of Huntsville released a statement, quote, the city of Huntsville believed there were serious errors in the Darby trial. We are grateful for the opinion of the Court of Criminal Appeals, which validates those concerns, end quote.